Welcome everybody to a Delco Nerd Network hot take. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen a hot take before, it's where a few friends get in a basement. We give our thoughts, we give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a TV show, and that TV show is Netflix's Avatar, The Last Airbender. Of course, that is the live action one. Here to discuss, as always, you want to be a firebender?
Yeah, sure. I'll be
the firebender
No,
himself.
I'd be the Avatar.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm that.
First you were Muad'Dib.
Right, now I'm the
in
Avatar.
the Dune, now you're the Avatar.
We're just on like the playground at this point.
Chris Trio.
Gooch, how's it going? I'm excited to get going about these nations and about the benders, to be honest.
Yeah, everything went wrong when the Fire Nation attacked. Indeed.
It's true. We heard Gran say it.
We did hear her say it once. I was a bit disappointed we didn't get like that I know they did like the intro in the first episode, but like I would have liked it. Like, I like show intros, and I think this was I think Avatar's intro is just really iconic.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Like, just the first line, you know, when they water, earth, fire, air, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. It's iconic. I'm surprised they didn't commit to the bit and like really do the intro.
I hated the title cards. I'm not gonna lie on this.
Yeah, no, that's
they
what
were so
I'm saying.
bland
and here's the title of the show,
and it's like has these weird like whooshes around it or something.
The name of the episode was interesting. You know, not a lot of shows like even bother presenting the name of the episode to you.
I guess it makes more sense, obviously, in the context of Avatar with that week-to-week episode. They would name every show, so I assume that's kind of where they're. Yeah, it would be like maybe. Book 1, chapter, and then it would kind of give you a show title.
Sure.
But Gooch, I would like to say this. I'm an avid Avatar fan. I watched it again during the pandy. I have it pretty fresh on my mind, so I'm gonna do my best to remove that from my mind as I try to review the show. It's gonna be hard though. You obviously are familiar with the show.
Correct.
You wouldn't say that you watched it all the way through though, right? You're not super familiar with the entirety. You know the story, of course, the basic tenets, but like you don't know the exact beat for beat.
No.
So I'm really kind of curious to see where you're feeling about this. But yeah, let's just start out. What did you think kind of overall? What did you think, I guess, about like Aang and Gang to boil it down at the beginning too?
Aang and Gang, you know? I didn't find those three my highlight. Yeah. Those three weren't it. Zuko, Iroh, and Aang, I really liked those three. I mean, obviously, Uncle Iroh and Zuko together, but like Aang and Zuko seem to just have this kind of this rivalry that I really liked, and like Zuko being a lot less evil than he is in the show that I recall.
Sure.
Like I feel like he was like unabashedly a villain in the animated series. Like just again, this is from what I remember.
Right.
I watched the show as a kid, just like we all did, but I didn't follow it. I never finished it, but you know that's where I'm coming from. Right. Not a fan of the source material. Don't dislike it, but I'm not a fan. I would not be like, I like Avatar. Like, I watched it. I don't have an opinion about it. Indifferent. So going into it, and I am kind of like trying to remember. I'm like, okay, like I don't even remember an order of anything. Like I remember from like seeing it, like, oh right, Suki's the one. Then the third episode,
the Kuroshi Warriors.
Yes,
stuff.
Yeah. Like I'm like, okay, like I remember her. Like I've seen her, but like could I have? If you asked me like on the spot to name her, like without this show, I wouldn't have had that context.
Right.
But yeah, this show is fine. It's fine. It's not bad, but it's not really great either. It is really just fine. My two biggest gripes. I'm going to see if this bothered you. I don't think I mentioned in the Discord either. Right. The sets?
Yes, okay. That was like my number one.
Ready for number two? The hair pieces.
Sure.
Too many. It like, okay, I get the beards are probably tough to
Who was
grow.
the worst hairpiece, do you think?
That water nation leader at the end.
Who's supposed to be like the teacher?
The guy who tells Katara he can't or she can't fight.
Yeah.
That
weird looking dude.
Weird looking guy.
He looks like
weird
that. Looking. I thought, dude, Gooch, my girlfriend and I sat there for 15 minutes. I'm like, is he wearing a mask? Like, is he wearing like
he's an odd looking guy.
He had an oddly shaped head, but yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, which didn't accentuate with probably a bald cap and then your side piece wig, and then like, you know, some of our flame Fire Nation troopers had
the
like
mutton chops
and like different beard styles. I was just like, if one or two probably wouldn't have commented on it, but the fact that like almost besides like Katara, Sokka, and Aang, all natural hair. Actually, Katara debatable.
No, hers is real.
Okay,
hers,
I couldn't tell. I'm like, it's back all the
I
time.
would bet money on that it's real because
Okay.
I was staring at the first episode. It did not look good because I was stuck on it, and then I feel like from then on they kind of nailed it.
But like Iroh's is like,
Sure.
it's fine. They get away with it. I'm like curious if Zuko's ponytail was real.
Yeah, he
Cool.
shaved his head and stuff. Yeah,
Cool. But like I was just like, everyone in the show, I was just like, back in the Kind of Funny days, is it a wig? I don't know.
Yeah.
Wigging out with Scarpino. I'm just like, holy shit, the hair pieces. It's just it's too many that it was too jarring. But the sets, this seemed like a COVID show. And
it wasn't.
Yeah,
That's the
and
problem.
they shot on really small sets, really contained areas. You could tell.
Number one enemy here, the volume. It just felt like we weren't in a real place at all.
We know it wasn't shot in the volume per se.
Well, it is, but they did use that technology.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Right.
Not the
Disney-
one that Disney uses, but
right.
yeah.
You could tell. And some of the shots were good, like at the landscape shots, like when they go into the northern water nation city, like that looked really good. But like
did.
once we get in these areas,
The city was the bad one for
we're
me.
just like we're really boxed in. Like
It just feels like we're just like they're in the middle of a room and they just projected everything around them. Like they said,
Right.
like it doesn't feel like you're in a place.
yeah.
I that was my number one gripe here. It's funny you bring it up.
Yeah, but that was it. I feel like again, like I feel like Zuko, like I liked his story, but they really they're really sitting into the audience that hey, he's the bad guy, but he's like not really the bad guy kind of thing.
So I would say I think they do that in the main show too, like the
Okay.
animated very well.
He always seemed like
it's definitely
really,
he's a bit more
fuck the
melodramatic.
Avatar.
Because especially in those first couple episodes, he's been searching, and even in this, he's been searching for the Avatar for like 2 years.
Right.
He's pissed off. He just wants to prove himself to the Fire Lord and all that good stuff. But I mean, I can only echo a lot of what you just said. I think the strongest part, without a doubt, of this show is Zuko and Iroh's relationship and his kind of blossoming into what we see him become by the end of the season, and kind of getting over that want and need to catch the Avatar. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think the sets are a major issue. I think some of the acting is rough in it. Like
From who? Who do you think?
Katara specifically, she gets better throughout the series.
She doesn't
I feel
have a
like
lot to do.
I was about to say that as well. I feel bad
She's just
because
kinda
they
there.
literally they almost completely, I feel like, cut out
romance?
her story. They did completely cut the romance, but
Yeah, I mean, like I understand not laying it on heavy, especially since they're like aged
Sure.
differently, and like even in the show, it's like that. But like, and I could get like not wanting to lay that on too thick, too
and again,
fast.
I don't think that the show does that. I think it just lets you know, Aang has a crush or whatever, and you see it kind of develop throughout this first and second season, especially. But yeah, it does seem like a kind of weird thing to take out. Again, I'm trying to do my best to not compare this to the animated show.
I mean, like, what
But
else?
it's
What
tou-
else
no,
are you
I know
gonna
it's
do?
it's tough because I'm
hard.
trying
Even
to judge
I'm
it on
doing it, and I'm not a fan. But
It's
I'm like,
true.
here's what I remember. Here's the source material. It's something we grew up with.
Well, and I think honestly, the reason why Zuko and Iroh work the best out of this throughout for me is because it's mostly the show stuff, and where I feel like Team Aang and Gang fall down.
I don't want to call him Team Aang.
right.
I don't want to Team
Aang
Flash
Gang.
it. I don't want to call him Aang Gang either. Let's just we'll call them the trio.
Aang
trio.
and friends. All right,
Team
we'll
Av-
take it.
team-
We'll reevaluate.
I think I
But-
like Team Avatar better than Team Aang.
Fine. Fine. Team Avatar. I think they really got the complete shit end of the stick for the most part. I think they did a relatively good job with Sokka. Overall, I like that actor a lot. I think he was delivering some pretty crappy lines at some points very well.
Sokka.
Yeah. And overall, I just think that was one of the more well translated out of the Yang
I
Gang.
think that was a good casting.
I
I think
think
the
so, too.
casting all around seemed pretty on point.
I agree. I again, Katara is my only
Except
one
all
where
the old people.
the old people felt weird. The one woman playing Gran,
Right.
not good.
Like capped teeth.
Yeah.
Wig, like I'm like you look fake, like you
Yeah.
don't look like a grandma.
Yeah.
Like sorry,
and it's funny because she is
Boomy,
an old person. Yeah, let's get to Boomy.
Yeah, it was just like again, young person with old makeup, with glued on face, and then like the armpit hair, like it killed it for me. Like there's one scene where like once he fights Aang and he lifts up, and you can like it's there for a frame, but like I like pause it right on it. I'm like, that looks horrible,
and
I'm just like I don't know how you could have done
you
that.
start to run into this issue of and it's funny because there's always this thing going around, and I mostly agree with it, and I think it seems to be the running idea at this point is that it's almost impossible to translate anime to live action. Not that this is anime per se. This is Western anime. This was done by a Western creator. I'm fairly confident.
Yeah.
But there's just a frenetic element to the animation and just an energy that you cannot reproduce in real life, especially when you get to a character like Boomy. And that's one of my most frustrating or one of the most frustrating changes, I should say, that I found in this, because that reveal works so well in the show. He doesn't know, first off, he doesn't know who Aang is.
I forgot about that.
He doesn't know who Boomy is. Yeah.
So when we got there, I was like, oh shit. Like it kind of like caught me by surprise a little bit.
And they dive right into it. He's like, oh, Boomy, I remember you, which doesn't happen in the animation.
It doesn't.
No, so in the animation, he goes to the city no, it's not Ba Sing Se. Ba Sing Se is the other one. I can't remember which one Boomy is.
Mashu.
Yeah, thank you. He shows up. He's looking for help from the king, and the king basically captures him and puts him through this gauntlet. And he's like, who is this fucking crazy king? And you're kind of getting like flashbacks to his time there with Boomy throughout. It's pretty well laid out. And then he gets to this last challenge, or the second to last challenge. And this whole time he's like in this huge kind of cape, and he looks like this hobbly old man who's like barely kind of holding together. And the second,
I liked your
my scrunch. Yeah. He's barely held together. You get to the second to last challenge, and he's like, okay, you can fight anyone in this room. And he brings in like this huge like creature for him to fight. And he's like, anyone? He's like, yeah. And he points to Boom, and he's like, okay, you. And Boom's like, okay. And he like sits up straight and like sheds his cape, and he's this fucking jacked old dude and starts doing basically the fight that we see in the live action. But it's great. And then kind of Aang, he beats him, and Aang has this whole last talk. He's all right, the last challenge is you have to answer a question. And he's like, that question is, what is my name? And then he kind of has it, and he's like, what the fuck? You've never told me your name. I don't know what you're talking about. And then he has this whole flashback and realizes, and he's like, and he has this whole nice moment. He's like, Boomy. And then they run up and give each other a hug. And he's like, I missed you, Aang. And the whole point of that is that he's like, listen, you're going to have a lot of shit thrown your way. I want to make sure you can handle yourself. So I was fucking with you. Whereas in this, it's just him going like, you left. You left us.
Right. He was like angry.
Oh, I hate you. Why did you leave us? And I just think that works not nearly as well.
Did you like how Aang was much more mature?
No. I don't.
I think I like it more because I don't think it would have worked for live action. I think Aang's child, or I don't want to, childlike. I mean, he is a child. The way he acts like a kid wouldn't work in live action if you went for it 100% full throttle.
I guess I don't think you need to go 100% full throttle, but I think they could have gone much more than they did. Because I think that's a major element of his character from the show.
Yeah, for sure.
And you are and losing that, and in losing that, I think you lose a big part of him. And I will give, I need to look up the actor, but whoever played Aang, he settled in quick. I felt like the first episode, he felt a little wooden to me, to be honest.
Okay. I think the first episode is like probably the best episode.
I think he was great, but I will say again, they lose a trick there. I think personally, the trick of Aang discovering that in the moment and it not being shown to you so blatantly, because first off, did you felt like those firebenders were really powerful, or like any more powerful than the other firebenders we're seeing in the show at the time? Because I felt like
the firebenders
the firebenders that are like taking out the air nomads in the beginning.
No,
you didn't felt like there was any like difference in power level from that. That's another thing I don't really love, because they pointed out they're like, how are you so powerful? And he points to the comet in the sky, and the idea is that the firebenders are drawing extra power from that comet, and that's how they're able to take down
they talk
the air
about
nomads
it a few times.
And that ends up later becoming called Sozin's comet because of that, and because that was Firelord Sozin. And I just don't think, like, while it was a cool scene to see them take out the air nomads, and there's some great fight choreography.
I mean, the air nomads aren't in the animated stuff at all. We don't see any of that, right?
No, you do. You see it in flashback. You see a lot of the Gyatso stuff. like flashbacks with him talking to him. A lot of that stuff
Yeah,
does
I
exist in the
really
show.
liked that.
And I think that worked very well. I think that translated super well. But they don't show the actual like extermination of the air nomads.
Yeah, I think that was cool too.
I thought it was cool.
I liked it. Yeah, I like genocide.
But I think that
It's really
no,
cool.
we don't. We do not approve that at DNN.
It's really cool that we got to see those guys die. You know?
I think you lose a trick of having Aang realize that in the moment, like you do in the show, where he comes back to the air temple and he doesn't want to believe they're all dead. Everyone's like, Aang, the air nomads are dead. Like they aren't around. He's like, no, like you can't get to the air temple. It's fucking on cliffs. And that was another thing. You don't really see any of their machines during the attack, which is like majorly key to how they actually, I don't know, because I think only the current day Fire Nation has like tanks and stuff. But that's another thing. He's just kind of told everything. Like if he gets out of the ice and like Gran goes, it's 200 years later. You've been missing. You're the Avatar. Blah, blah, blah. Like she's just kind of like rattling off all the story points that I feel like are much more naturally kind of exposed throughout the animated show.
I mean, like once you get going, you know, like as probably would happen naturally.
Well, but like
if you've been frozen in ice for 100 years.
I don't know. It just felt super like, just like we need to get this information to everyone very quick. So we're gonna have this person exposit it to the audience, which is fine. It's a TV show. You only have so much time in that.
Yeah. You know, this show, especially at the beginning, it kind of happened less so at the end. But the beginning, it felt like, you know, not I say villain of the week, but like that's like was that Flash and Arrow format,
sure,
where there was a
story of the week,
but like there was a story of the week thing, something you see with syndicated television, and like it was like, you know, first episode's intro, the second episode is like, you know, they take right off, but, you know, it's kind of a continuation of the first episode. Then the third episode, the fourth episode, the fifth episode, it's kind of like three totally different storylines.
I did really like the face stealer. I will give them that. That thing was creepy as fuck.
I didn't like that episode. That was episode 5.
I didn't like that episode that much.
I was just like, what? Okay, now Aang is just gonna go to the Fire Nation like random. Like, does he do that in the show?
He does do that in the show because that's another
I'm like,
thing.
we're just gonna leave him passed out like in the
I can't
middle of the
remember
woods. Like, it just
exactly
felt
how
awkward.
that-
And then we're gonna go back.
Right.
You know, it's just like weird.
I can't remember exactly how that pans out, but yes, Aang does go to speak to Avatar Roku at his shrine, and that's another thing. Roku, they just kind of replace him a little bit with Avatar Kyoshi, who's the Kyoshi warrior one.
Yeah.
And I just, his characterization just didn't really make any sense to me. Do you care if I spoil something? Spoilers for second season, third season. I mean, this all gets revealed in the first season of the animated show. Roku is the previous Avatar. And,
okay. I thought Kyoshi was.
No, and that's what I'm so. Roku is the previous Avatar. He was the guy who kind of set a lot of this in motion. During his time was when like Fire Lord Sozin was around, and he failed his Avatar-ly duties, and it allowed the world to kind of fall into chaos. And he was good friends with Fire Lord Sozin, and that's all kind of revealed throughout the show. And he kind of tells Aang about the comet and how it's coming again soon, and how Sozin's planning on, or the new Fire Lord Zuko's dad is planning on using that to basically scorch Earth.
Ozai,
yeah, Ozai. Is
and they show that at the end, but they mention it a few times.
Sure, but
again about the comet, but I'm like, oh, okay. Like I didn't understand the comet, like in the show's context, but now that you're explaining it to me, it kind of makes sense.
Because the idea is like every bender, they have like there's some natural element that enhances their bending. I don't know what it is for air or earth, but I know for the water benders it's a full moon, and then for the fire benders it's the comet for some reason.
So let's backtrack a little bit. Mm-hmm. Does this season follow storylines that happen in the show,
yes.
or is there anything different? Like, do things happen in different orders?
There's a lot of combining, especially the jet stuff with the boomy stuff, and then like the Lover's Cave things. Like, by the way, I love the brother and sister in the Lover's Cave. Really good stuff. I didn't mind that. I actually didn't hate like their banter back and forth, to be honest, in the cave, and it was cool to see the fuck, what are they called, the badger moles or whatever. So the idea is in bending, all original benders were taught that bending by a certain animal, and they explain it in the show with Oma and Shu. They were the first earth benders who were taught by the badger moles. or airbenders were taught by the sky bison. Fire Nation was taught by dragons. The waterbenders were taught by the koi fish, I believe, or something, or some other like water animal. So that was cool. Again, leaning into some of that stuff, but it just feels like we don't have time to marinate, and it just feels like we're kind of messing back and forth. And even that whole episode,
right. Like we don't get a lot of time of the team.
Angang.
Angang. We don't get a lot of time of Angang just kind of traveling, which I didn't like because like I don't remember if that's a big part of the show.
Barely any Momo and Appa too. Like,
I feel like it's just like them traveling, getting to know each other. Like they didn't have a lot of time with it. A lot of the episodes were spent getting to know other people who we're not going to see again.
Which is weird too because they were like it's a ton exactly.
And then we all know about like hey the sexism stuff isn't back, which
So I'll explain to you why my problem is on that. It's because my major issue is that the Water Nation itself is still like sexist and won't let like girls waterbend.
Do we know that more? But like in the animated show,
well, in the animated show, Sokka's like yes, like Sokka.
Okay, because I didn't get that idea at all.
That's the
problem.
It
seemed like the Southern tribe was more progressive,
which again
than
doesn't
the
really make
tribe.
any sense because the idea even in the Southern tribe was like men fighting and stuff like that. And one of the major arcs in the animated show is with Katara not taking any of Sokka's shit and kind of giving him the what for, if you will, and him learning his lesson. And I don't know, it's probably a storyline people would call woke these days, but I think it was actually just a pretty great character development of the time where he was humbled a little bit, especially by Suki in that whole episode. Like in the animated show, like she dresses him up as a full Kyoshi warrior and like and does the whole thing. And again, it's a really good character growth moment that I just feel like execs are almost too afraid to put on heroes.
I really liked, and this is gonna sound weird, the lack of white people in the show. Like I like how everything is like ethnically driven.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that really bothered me with the Northern tribe and Katara, like kind of convincing that leader for the women to fight.
The women sitting there.
It's not the issue that happened, it's how it happened.
I completely agree.
The fact that now they're all in agreement and they're all standing there ready to go. I would have much rather seen Katara kind of go against him and start fighting, and then the other women see Katara fighting and be empowered by her.
Also,
then kind of like going out, and then it's like there's all these women going out to fight, and he can't do anything about it, so he's just gonna kind of deal with it and embrace it, and then they'll have the little moment later. I'm like, that would have been much more powerful, not them just all standing there and being like, "We're ready to fight."
I can fight. Yeah,
this in the moment sort of like thrust into action would have been so much better for what they were going for.
And another thing, like Katara really suffers from throughout this thing is just like we're told how much she's learning waterbending, but we're never really shown it. And then all of a sudden she's like kind of holding her own against this master and can like fight really well. And I was like,
is that the same thing with the show?
In the show, yes, but like I think it's telegraphed much more well. Much better. Jesus.
And they give you much more time.
Exactly. But you know what the funny part is, Gooch? The whole first season of Avatar is probably only like an hour and a half longer than this, maybe an hour.
Yeah, right. So like, I looked up. It's like a pretty normal standard syndication. It's 20 episodes per season, so it's 60 episodes.
And 20 minutes so is it 20 episodes really in the first?
All of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I looked it up. Yeah, I was looking at it yesterday.
That's
I knew
wild,
the seasons
actually.
were like books.
Yeah, it's book 1, 2, 3. Again,
cool.
Which they got rid of in this. There's no book. It's not book 1 water, but like, and also by the way,
they want to tie themselves down.
Hey, maybe no, but they covered everything in book 1.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like this is where
that was also a question
this is where book 1 ends. So for the most part,
yeah.
By the way, Aang doesn't, aside from like the Avatar state moment, doesn't bend a fucking lick of water. Maybe have him practice with Katara.
Well, so
or
that
anything,
was one thing I noticed. Aang didn't learn any other bending besides air. Like didn't even try.
My assumption is they're going to come back.
Him and Katara would have learned waterbending together.
So at the beginning of the show, she's handed a scroll by her grandmother that has techniques.
Yeah.
And the idea is throughout like the animated show, they're kind of like they're kind of fighting over it a little bit because like Aang wants to learn at the same time, and so does Katara.
Sure, it makes sense.
But then it starts to show that they start practicing together, and like you see, it starts with an episode. Where they're bending it by like
she was gonna
I'm
bend
gonna
our
bend the
table.
table up.
Yeah.
Where they're like bending water together or like pushing and pull, like practicing and showing that they are like at least putting in the time. Whereas it just felt like all of a sudden Katara could do all this bending stuff, and I was like, where did this all come from? Like, this doesn't even make any sense. I did like seeing some warriors put up a fight that weren't benders, and I gotta say a lot of the bending was choreographed really well, especially the earth bending. That first scene when they're escaping with the information about how they're gonna attack
the first scene.
Yeah, they think they're gonna attack the Earth Kingdom, but then they're actually attacking the
they're
air
like
tribe.
kind of setting them up. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I gotta say they do a really good job, but the water felt probably the worst to me. What did you think, bending wise? I think fire looked great, and mostly because Zuko, the actor, was fucking kicking ass. Like, he was doing some flips and shit that were blowing me away.
I liked it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't really think I saw...
Nothing stuck out to you, really?
Yeah.
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 Oh, well,
like, nothing really, like, looked bad.
Yeah.
Per
Water
se.
bending's low-key very... Like, it's one of those things that's like... You can only do it when it's around you.
I heard about the bloodbending thing.
Yeah, and then there's water
So what's
everywhere.
up with the fire and the lightning?
Firebenders can control lightning.
Okay,
they
just
can,
like waterbenders control blood?
Correct. They can control moisture, basically, if you think of it. So I think even the idea...
There's water in your blood.
Yeah, and that can only happen during a full moon, though. Or like a blood moon or something like that. Because you have to be so attuned. And then, we'll get to...
Speaking of blood moons, I loved the color grading when the moon disappeared.
It was cool. It was like the
really
absence of color almost. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like
That's
when
almost shot
fire
for shot.
when fire would come up, like the color would come back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, whoever like stylized this, really good.
Gooch, again, something that came from the animated show. Like, it's so fun. No, that's not. But that's just my point of like, I do think, like, and I guess that's my major issue with, not issue, but
Yeah, you didn't really give
like,
your general impressions, but obviously at this point they've all kind of come out.
Yeah, I think overall, I enjoyed it. I think it's a nice way to at least maybe introduce new people, like, because for some reason there still is a stigma for some reason about animation. So when they see a live action show that makes it more legit, so they can watch it. I hope people watch it and enjoy it, and kind of maybe even inspire them to watch the original. Because like,
right.
I hate to compare, but the original it's just superior in every way.
One thing I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. I've been there.
What were you just talking about?
The animation versus the live action, my overall thoughts. The lack of color in that one scene.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This show, like, I think we were talking about Discord. I'm like, is this show made for kids? And I'm like, I don't think so.
It's like a weird. I don't feel like they made a decision. Is my problem.
Maybe you're right, because I'm watching this and I'm like, this is pretty heavy. Like, there's never one point where it kind of like lightens up. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth right now. That game is more jovial than Avatar: The Last Airbender. And there's a lot of weird humor and really weird down moments of like, not comedy, but like of just lightheartedness that like, I know that original show has. I've seen, I've watched it. I've seen how Aang acts.
Yeah.
I get it. But like, that is pretty absent from the show. And maybe I don't dislike it, but
Sure.
I understand that it's not there.
And I guess it feels like a half measure almost, because like it feels like they didn't want to completely step into the adult, and they even said this. They're like, this isn't a show for kids. We want to do something like a mixture of Game of Thrones. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I
don't love that.
I saw that.
Someone shared a panel,
That's
which I
weird.
think kind of like perfectly encapsulates at least the characteristic difference between like Aang and the animated and the live action. And it's the scene when he's tied up and he's like, in the live action, like when he's captured in the base and he's like, you have to let me go. And that's all he says in that moment. And then in the animated, he's like, let me go and I'll beat the shit out of you. Like, he's like kind of taunting them. And like, I do think that type of stuff is absent and definitely detracts from the story for me. Would that detract from the story for me if I didn't know about the animated or didn't watch the original. I don't know, maybe not, but like
Right, it didn't detract
it's
for
tough.
me.
It is tough for me to not view it that way.
Well, we talked about Iroh in the beginning, but I did really like the scene where he gets captured. All his scenes were really good. I don't really like that actor.
Oh, really? He grew on me a lot.
He kind of bothers me. I don't know why. I do, but I think he does great in this role, and his scenes are really good.
Him and Zuko, all their stuff
I
is
like
great.
how our main character cast is pretty much unknowns, like, and then the supporting cast, like that actor who plays Iroh, the guy who plays Zhao.
Yeah. He was actually one of my favorites for some reason. He was like chewing the scenery in like a great way.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was.
Yeah. He's he's in a lot of stuff. He was in Humans, and he's in The Sopranos as well.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed
he's like
Zhao.
Not a character actor, but he's like just in a lot of
No,
shit.
for sure. Because he could have easily danced over the line of like, okay, this is becoming campy, but I felt like he walked it pretty perfectly.
And then you got Daniel Day Kim as Ozai.
And he was perfect. I got to say that was great.
I found out that fun fact, he is in every incarnation of Avatar.
What is he in the last one? Or in the Shyamalan one?
Oh wait, no, he's not in that. And
Maybe
he's a voice actor in the original and in Legend of Korra.
Part of me wants to rewind review that.
I thought, literally thinking about it, because I kind of want to watch it. I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either. I've only seen
like
parts.
for like season 2. Like
yeah, that actually might be on the list. I was thinking that.
Yeah, that would be
Shyamalan. Oh god.
Yeah.
I think they did a lot of good stuff with the Fire Lord. I didn't really like that Zuko actually fought him in the Agni Kai. Because, and again,
how does he get his burn?
In the show, it's the same idea. Like, basically, almost up until that point, he thinks he insults the general, and then he turns around, and it's his father. But in the show, he's like, I'm not fighting you. Like, I'm not, like, I won't fight my father. I was insulted. He's like, all right, I'll teach you. In the animated show, he doesn't fight him whatsoever. In the live action,
how does he get the burn?
He burns him just for the same idea of like to teach him a lesson.
He's just like,
he just accepts the burn. He's like, if you won't fight, I'll have to teach you your lesson. And by the way, I still do love the idea. Oh no, you're fine. Yeah. I do love the idea that. Do you see any other firebenders with burns, Gooch?
No.
That's fucking embarrassing. You're a firebender and you got a burn. Like, that idea to me is like, it's this mark of shame, like, is so cool to me. And I didn't either. I saw someone post about that on Twitter, and I was like, that is really like an
Twitter
interesting.
user.
Thank you, Twitter user. I can't remember who it was. I'm not smart enough to come up with that idea, but it was an incredible idea. And I think the only thing that really annoyed me about that, Gooch, is why is his eyebrow growing back?
Yeah, it just
because the burn was around.
Is there? I'm curious why they didn't cover it with makeup. Like, I doubt they would have
just
made
shave it.
Is that weird though? Will your
it would grow back.
Like, yeah, but like,
it would take a minute, but yeah, your eyebrows grow back.
Imagine he's in a show and he has to like walk around like with one
I'm
eyebrow.
sure you're right. Cover it up with something though. I think you could probably find a way to cover it. It just looks
I feel
weird.
like that would be. I mean, like I know they, cutting your hair is a different story, but like we're gonna shave one eyebrow for like the entire show.
Sure.
She'll have to deal with having one eyebrow.
That's
like,
a fair point.
That
may be
that may have been something.
I do think
we're not gonna make you look like a total idiot
for sure.
Yeah,
it's funny. I was questioning the Zuko casting at first, just because of course you don't know the guy. But by the end, he probably convinced me the most. He was my absolute favorite casting.
I think I have a I don't know if this is a bad thing on me, but I have a problem with Kat. The sisters.
I agree.
Azula seems like she could be 10.
I agree.
I think it's because they're pudgy. Like they don't look like adults. Like
I
Azula
agree.
in
But
the
again,
show,
I
like
guess
I know what she looks like.
But and I think they are supposed to. I don't know how old Azula is actually, because she's younger than Zuko. So,
okay, yeah. I mean,
so that is the idea.
Like they just have no offense, and like they're just kind of like like a
I
pudgy,
felt
pudgy little
May
Asian
too,
faces.
especially. I agree.
Like even Zuko is kind of pudgy.
See, I didn't think. I think he looks
Maybe
just
it's
like
he's bald.
I think that's probably part of it.
Like his face shape is accentuated. But yeah, I was just like, you guys look like really oddly young.
And maybe then, hey, I think that's probably good. They can grow now a few years because they just renewed this for season 2 and 3.
Yeah, so they're gonna finish it.
Yeah, so that's
So
hey,
we'll
I guess
back.
good. That's great. And that sounded very bad, but at the end of the day, I am happy this is bringing it back to the forefront in people's minds and bringing Avatar back up to people. I was telling this in the group in the Discord. Can someone make an Avatar RPG, please? set it in a random time period. You choose which nation you start as.
I think a lot of Avatar games are pretty bad.
Yeah, they've been terrible. Give it to a real fucking AAA like developer, dude. They could make. Are you kidding me? You're using all the bending and shit.
I'm sure you know this, but there was like an Avatar game when like the 360 came out that had 4 achievements. And,
I had it.
Yeah,
I owned it.
And you had to get like a 100 hit combo, and you got the 1,000 gamer score.
Yeah,
that was like really well known as like one of the easiest 1,000 gamer scores you.
I remember that exact one, which is funny.
Yeah. I think that's it. Like I don't know if I'm looking forward to season 2, but
you'll watch it, I assume.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Like we've been taking. This was kind of an incentive. Like, hey, I wasn't gonna watch this show, but
we're trying to watch more things this year. Yeah.
Right. There are a lot of shows out. I mean, like Halo's coming up. I want to do Masters of Air.
Yeah, I need to get Apple Plus for it or whatever.
Shogun.
That was all. I've been meaning to talk to you about
there's
that.
A
Maybe
lot
we
of
should.
TV.
Yeah,
they're like, and I'm like almost too much.
Well, and TV's again. I think we can shoot for the stars as much as we want, but that is something we have to temper to a degree, just because it is so much content. Like you're saying,
yeah.
It's
right
8
now,
hours of a show.
Like I'm like, have you been watching Halo?
I watched the first episode.
Okay, because like I was like, is it done yet?
And then Invincible just started again today.
Dude, I don't even really want to review that because I don't remember the first 4 episodes.
You don't remember them at all?
Like you would have to talk to me about it. I don't. No, I really don't.
I guess I remember the major ending thing where like him and his dad got fucked up by all the Vulture-mites, and like he's dealing with that and everything.
I remember, but I'm just like, dude, I hate the way they.
Listen, I agree too, but I'm very much excited for
the way
that
they
still.
released season 2.
It came out yesterday, right? The first episode.
I think so.
Yeah. So
or maybe it's tonight.
I think it was last night at midnight.
Yeah, but we gotta I think Halo would probably be the next to finish, so like I'll probably start Halo next. And get through it, but then like Masters of Air I think is almost done too, and I have to get Apple Plus. That'll be like
there are a lot of shows on there that are apparently really good.
Silo Foundation.
Yeah. What was it? What's the other one with Adam? Whatever his name is. Whether not
Succession.
It's like an office. It's like a weird office
I know
one.
What you're talking about.
Fuck. Anyways, starts with an S. It's like No, not serendipity. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we know. I know.
You know what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah.
And then and I'll give it to Apple. They finished shows like they finished that Jason Momoa C one or whatever, where everyone's like blind or something. Yeah, Apple Plus apparently.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't episode counts with Netflix shows. It's always low.
Yeah.
I'm curious if would have.
Could you see that? I could see them giving more episodes on the season 2 for Avatar, because there's much more going on, especially when you start introducing Toph, who is like his earthbending teacher. Do you know about her at all?
Yeah, of course.
One of the cooler characters for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if she was going to be in season 1. I don't know where she comes in the show.
What's her name? A lot of the Fire Nation stuff that's shown in this first season is not in the first season.
Really,
you don't meet Azula till the second season.
Oh,
yeah, of the animated.
So they
show.
introduced the what are her sisters' names?
Whose sisters?
Azula's.
They're not. They're not her
friends.
Sisters. They're just her friends. Lee May
just
and,
hanging out in the palace.
Well, so she recruits them like she's going on a heist. She shows up to the one girl who's at the circus and the other girl who has a crush on Zuko. I can't remember where she gets her from. I think her parents are leading Ba Sing Se or something or Omashu. Yeah, I would love to see them get a little bit more time, especially in the next season, just to really kind of flush these
Two
things.
characters we didn't talk about. You briefly mentioned Momo.
Yeah.
And he gets fucking bodied, dude.
He gets
but
bodied.
he comes back.
Yeah.
Appa looks good.
They
Momo
look great.
Looks
yeah,
good.
Just we don't see him often.
Probably a little bit more. I think a little bit more Momo. Appa, I get why probably isn't in this scene. He's probably expensive to do.
Sure.
And it's we're gonna have him sit around
that's
and just
part of the show.
I know,
That's
right?
It's Appa sitting in the background with them while they're all
maybe they got to find a way to do it practically.
No, yeah.
But that would be jarring at this point, right?
Sure,
would it
no,
be a lot different.
I think you could do it, especially depending on how you're filming it.
Another point when they're on Appa's back and it's here we are, square up.
On everyone's face.
The camera is peck level.
It's locked.
Yeah. You can really tell we're on a fucking set here.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know if I'd recommend it, and obviously the fans are gonna have their own opinions, but it was fine again for me. Whatever. I think there are better shows out there, and there are also I think there are worse.
I'd say if this piqued your interest from the trailers, go watch the original show. And I don't mean that in like
I
a
don't know if I'll ever do that.
and I think I'm sad to hear that because I think it is some top tier television.
I think I got.
But
you
it's
know,
I totally understand.
There's so much going on. I'm trying to watch the
man,
fucking Bad Batch.
I completely
and then
understand.
go to Rebels. You know.
But I mean, if you're at all interested, I'd say give it a peek. I mean, it's getting renewed anyways at this point, so who knows? Maybe you'll like it.
I think it'll probably be like a year and a half, I guess. Before
Probably, I'd say a year, half, 2 years.
Yeah. It's usually like a long wait for that.
Of course. Well, if you're turning around and they don't have
first season to second season, it's always a long wait.
Exactly, because second to season to third or something, so on is probably a bit more guaranteed. So it's probably more cogs moving. Anything else, Gooch?
No.
Alrighty, thank you all so much for watching with us. If you've been with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network, you can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network. We are at Delco Nerds on every social media platform with an @sign. We got a Facebook page, we got a Discord channel, all that good stuff will be linked down below. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to delconerds@gmail.com. Oh, God, excuse me. We'd be happy to get back to you. You can find all this information on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. For Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy. We will see you next time.